remove the wheel, use a 19mm socket, take the lug nuts off. Take the wheel off. Loosen up this jam nut, use a 19mm wrench. There we go. Remove this cotter pin right here, just use some side cutters. And slide it out. Now take this nut off, use a 19mm socket. If you're reusing the outer tie rod end, you want to take the nut and just put it on the end. We just want to break this free. And you want to hit it with a hammer. You don't want to mar the end of the tie rod. Go. Take that nut off again. Take the tie rod end out, and when you take this off, you want to count the threads. So 1, 2, and so on. That way, when you put the new one on, that you put it back in as close to the same position as you took it off. 3, 4, 16, 17, 18, and record that number somewhere. Now I'm going to take some locking pliers just to prevent the tie rod from spinning. Take this nut off, use a 19mm socket. Remove the pliers. Take this clamp off. You can use a hose clamp pliers. And slide that down. There's a clamp on the inside of this boot. You're not going to be able to see much, but you need a long pick or a skinny screwdriver just to get in the end of the clamp and try to pry it out. So that's the end you're looking for right there. Just pry that off. Try to find where that is and then pry it off. Sometimes you can reuse this, sometimes you have to replace it. Now just grab the boot and slide it off. There we go, just slide that off. There's a little retainer on the back side of this. If you take a straight blade screwdriver and just try to pry it back a little bit. It's kind of like a clip. That's just going to prevent the tie rod from spinning or loosening up on its own. There we go. Now I'm going to take a tie rod tool and the correct adapter. And slide it over. And before you loosen it up, and before I loosen this up, I'm going to take some locking pliers and just lock it down on the steering shaft to prevent it from spinning, from damaging any internal components in the steering system. And now I'm going to loosen this up while I'm holding those locking pliers. Go. And take the tie rod off. And there it is. Take the new inner tie rod in, and there's this washer with little tabs on it. It's going to go in here. There's two little slotted areas there, so you want that to stay there. And then you can put some thread lock adhesive on here if you choose. And start threading this in. Just make sure that washer doesn't fall out and stays in those tabs. And that looks good, it's still lined up. Now I'll take the inner tie rod tool, get this lined up. Get the right adapter. I still have my locking pliers in there holding the shaft from spinning. And I'm going to torque this to 69 foot-pounds. Now you can take the tool off, take the locking pliers off as well. Now I need to fold over where that washer was with those tabs, just like when I had to loosen that up when we were taking it apart. I'm just going to use a long pry bar and just try to access it from underneath and just peen it over just a little bit. There we go, that looks good. And then I'm gonna try to do the same on the other side. Now take the boot and put a new clamp on if you have one, or try to reuse the old one, or you could even use a wire tie. And just take a little bit of grease and just put it in this location right here, just where that's gonna sit on the tie rod. And you can slide it on. And push the boot on. And there's a special clamp tool you can use, or do the best you can just to tighten up that clamp. That's good. Now take the clamp and slide that on. That's good. Put the jam nut back on. Take the outer tie rod end and install it the way it came off. So count the threads: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 16, 17, 18. And line it up with the knuckle. And put the nut on. And just compress this down a little bit. Tighten the nut up. Use an 18mm socket. Torque this nut to 40 foot-pounds. And take a cotter pin, slide it through. If the castle nut doesn't line up, you can tighten it a little bit more. And just grab some side cutters and fold it over. Just trim the excess. And snug up the jam nut. If you can torque this, you could torque that to 33 foot-pounds. That's good. Install the wheel. Put the lug nuts on. Now I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly.
go around again, double check.